This is the Sober Boozers Club podcast.
Welcome everybody to the Sober Boozers Club podcast. My name is Ben Gibbs. I'm an alcoholic and I've been sober since January 2022. In that time, I have been navigating the world of alcohol-free beers, sampling some of the best that the world has to offer. In this podcast, we're going to talk to people from within these circles and find out a little bit about their journey. So you sit back, relax, and enjoy. This year, I released an alcohol-free beer. That sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But it actually happened thanks to the man who is my guest on this week's episode. It's Sam Ray, and he is the man behind We Can Be Friends, who are, in my opinion, producing the best alcohol-free beer in the entire country. So naturally, we had to have him on, didn't we? Well. Look who's come crawling back to season 2. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me on again. I feel like I kind of pushed my way on.
No, you were on my list anyway. It's just like when you're mates with someone, I kind of just assumed that we'll definitely do an episode, so I don't have to ask. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't know whether it'd be a bit weird. I didn't want to be that guy who's like on every season. I'm back for season 3, everyone. I'm going to talk about the same stuff again. But I thought it's a good opportunity to talk about the beer that we just made together. If anyone doesn't know, we made a beer together.
Make a beer together. But also, to be honest, you have had second year in production, or is it technically third? I can't remember when you launched.
So it was December 23.
Okay.
But to be honest, I got my first beer in December 23, and I think I probably sold about 2 cases in December because everyone I'd asked to buy it was like, who's this weirdo trying to sell us alcohol-free beer? And so I pretty much started going January 24 was kind of like where I hit sort of sold maybe 4 cases instead of 2.
Well, let's say second year then. And I can remember the first episode we did of this, which would have been pretty much 12 months ago, really. So very early into your We Can Be Friends life. And you said on that episode, the 2 things that you want to do. 1, take up the kind of mantle that Mash Gang had laid out. And 2 was make beers that rival table beers of companies. Yeah. And I think where we're sat right now in February 2025 is the recording date. Mission success so far. You have not put out a bad beer yet. And not only that, you haven't put out a beer that is just good. All of them have been fucking amazing. And with the collabs that you've had recently, I think you're filling that void that Mash Gang left with the acquisition pretty damn well. So how do you think that the first 2 years has been going? Are you where you wanted to be? Is it shocks you, or is there more that you want to do yet?
No, I've been massively surprised. I think the thing with our relationship is you was just really kind from the beginnings. A lot of, as I said, probably sold 2 cases in that first few weeks that I was open. No one really wanted to know. No one really wanted to give it a try. I feel like alcohol-free was probably in a bit of a different space at that point too. It's kind of come on a lot in the past year too. And yeah, I mean, you were just on board with it. You tried the beer. You actually give it a shot and you really liked it. And I remember you did something for BBC Radio. I think it was February last year, or it might have even been January. And you said, and I'll run to my girlfriend, and I was like, look, I'm on the radio. I've made it. I've hit the big time.
I didn't even realise that. I can remember.
That was a massive deal at the time. It was huge. Just to get a mention, to be in any sort of alcohol-free sphere of anyone doing anything. So yeah, mate, it was a real big deal.
Well, it was one of those, I tried the liquid, and I mean, I've been really open to you, and I've said when you first popped up, it was kind of 40 followers. Who are these people? Drank it thinking, okay, look, let's just humble people, because I'll always try something, right? And I've taken that up since trying your beer, to be honest. because when you said, like, oh, can I send you a can, see what you make of it? I didn't have high hopes because I'd never heard of you before. And that was a long time ago for me, really. I was fairly fresh in doing it. Like, it's only really been the last 12 months that I've really thrown myself more into the beer world. I was just some guy on the internet that just, like, knew what he liked. But when I drank it, it was like, fuck me. It was, I mean, still to date, I think your first beer is my favourite beer. Like, it's the one that sits with me the most because it was when you don't really expect anything from something and it blows you away. It was like, shit. And I remember going to speak to Christian at Sturchley Wines and being like, tell you what I've had this fucking beer and it's amazing. And then he turned around and said, it's funny you say that. I've had an email from him as well. And I was like, yeah, get him. You need to get him. Yeah.
I think that was actually one of the first orders. So, yeah.
Man.
Doing sales as well for me. Doing promotion, marketing, sales. Ben, I owe you more than a collaboration.
It's good liquid, man. It's good liquid. That's the thing. Like, it's just good shit. And obviously I didn't know about yourself. Like, obviously you've been in brewing for longer than we can be friends.
Yeah, I've it's been a really good year. I've been lucky enough to work with some amazing breweries. Something that I never thought would happen. I think it's just come along at a right point where these breweries have wanted to go on their own journey, and from what I can gather, they've tried a bunch of beers and gone, oh, we like this one. This is kind of the route that we want to go. How do we make something like this? And I think that, I've been lucky enough that they've chose me to kind of do something with. So I'm thankful for all the breweries that have made beer with me. It's been really helpful to how we can be friends are doing at the moment.
Yeah, because it's been like what Vault City. It's been Daya. Daya was massive. I forgot all about that one. Like that, they were the brewery, but were never going to release an alcohol-free beer.
Yeah,
that's, as far as I was concerned. How did that come about?
So they actually released a beer. They actually had a beer in tank. So I think they did a trial batch before that never see the light of day. I think it was purely a trial. Like they didn't really have a clue what they were doing. Like the brewing process is so different to what breweries do day to day. I mean, it's taken quite a lot of experimentation to get where I am. But so if you've got like a big brewery and you need to brew big batches of stuff, I think it's more difficult to just try all stuff and do little things. So I think they made a batch and then they made another batch with Left-Handed Giant and Verdant, which was actually a really good beer. It was amazing when they did that. And it was actually just before that came out. I met Theo, the owner. He was actually in London one day. He invited me to go and have a beer with him. And we went and had a beer and we just chatted about stuff, and he told me about the new beer that they had coming out and that they were really excited about it and that they really wanted to try and go for this alcohol-free thing. They'd seen other breweries who had taken it on. Like, I think they're friends with Wiper and True too, who have done like some really great stuff over the past few years. Yeah, so I think the whole just like the attitude towards alcohol-free beer changed for them. I think before they'd tried a lot of beers and been like, this is not really for us. I think it was more of that stance than that we're just not going to make one. I think it was more of just that it doesn't taste like they want it to. They don't know how to get it out exactly like one of their beers. Like, they've got a huge beer, Steady Rolling Man. They wanted to be on par with that. And I think it got to the point where there were beers coming through that were rivaling, because there's a lot of beers out at the moment that are really good. There's been some incredible beers out this January. Everyone's like putting their resources into it and trying to get this as close to the good stuff as possible, aren't they?
Yeah, January this year has been mad. It was ridiculous. I've never had so many boxes of beer come to my front door in my life. And
I've seen some of your posts. You've had a crazy amount at some point.
It's been ridiculous. And breweries do this really lovely thing where they'll only let you buy like 6-packs, some of
Yeah.
them. So if you've got one alcohol-free beer out that I need to get, and you can only get it from the brewery, I was really impatient, to be honest. As soon as they announced things, like with Daya, as soon as I saw it, I was like, yep, buying it from the brewery. I want it tomorrow. So not only did I have about 40 different beers to film, I had 6 cans of each of them. It was just,
I've always been really conscious
first world
of that.
problem, right?
I make one can available. If people want one can, they can buy one can. I've always been adamant that that's something that I want to do, because it's something that kind of annoys me a little bit too. Well, it doesn't annoy me. I mean, it's just one of those things that sometimes you want to try a beer first, and then if you like it, then you'll buy loads of them. So yeah, I've always made one can available, and it's turned out to be a real pain, because it's just me. I make the beer, I pick and pack it, I send it off, I put the labels on the boxes and everything. Everything is done by me. And when you get 4 of these beers, 2 of this, 1 of that, and 4 of the other, you got to sit there and go through loads of boxes. So January, most of my time was spent picking and packing.
See, my next thing that I was going to say
it would have been so easy just to do 6-packs, just do 56 packs and then just had them ready. But yeah,
job's a good one. But that makes me feel even worse now, because the next thing I was going to say was that I know with you, I think I've actively apologized to you when I've made an order once where I've ordered just 2 beers, because I think it was one of the overtone ones. And it was right, I need to buy this and I want one just to enjoy and one to film. But I've got 30 in my fridge at the moment, so I can't justify buying a shitload of beer.
The thing is, it's something that I've always wanted. I think just if someone wants one beer, let them try one beer.
Yeah, as long as postage is covered your end, right, and you don't have to worry about that, and that's
exactly.
fine. And the thing is, I don't mind paying. I don't mind paying, with postage. I don't know how much it would be. Let's £7-8 for a can. That's a real loose figure that I've plucked from nowhere. I don't mind paying that, because it's a treat to me, right? I'm not drinking it for any purpose. I'm just drinking it because it's worth how much I apply to it. I think that's the thing. I've been shocked recently by how the price conversation has come back into the alcohol-free beer thing. I thought that had kind of gone away, but I'm getting it quite often now. People go, it's just the prices of it that I don't get. And so what? How much would you pay for an 11% Imperial Stout? You pay a lot of money for that. And I know that Imperial Stouts might be, well, I don't know if they're difficult to make. I'm just assuming they are. But the amount of ethanol in a beer doesn't determine its price. That's just a natural thing that happens when they brew it. And you're brewing this stuff to not have ethanol. So it's the same process. So I don't get the price point. I mean, maybe tax. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think sometimes people think it's dirt cheap to make good beers that are alcohol free, but it's not. I mean, you do save a little bit on tax, but I also pasteurize my beers too, which is a massive, massive expense. It's so expensive to get the beers flashed. So I lose all of that. And bar a little bit of malt, there's not much difference in it. The can costs the same. The yeast is wildly, wildly more expensive than brewer's yeast that I use. I use the same amount of hops, the same. Yeah, I always insist on getting fresh hops. So ones that are 2024, 2023, those new fresh hops that have just come into stock. And they're really expensive. And I use the same amount that someone would use in a session beer or a 5% pale ale. So there's not really that much saving there. Malt's probably the cheapest thing out of everything, and I still use quite a bit of that anyway. So there's not really it's not massive markups. It's a lot, especially when you're doing it on this scale. I suppose if you're going massive Heineken scale, then maybe there's those little increments make a big deal. But when you're making 2,000-3,000 litres, it's there's no difference really.
Yeah, when I was looking into, well, when we had a chat when I was potentially going to do some weird hybrid beer through someone that I knew, and that weird time in my life. And you were really, really sound and gave me some really nice advice. And when I got the pasteurization even costed, it was like, shit, that's really expensive. But
Yeah.
then, like, a really important step, I suppose, in an alcohol-free beer. Like, is that just something that you do for your own peace of mind, or do you think that it needs to happen with alcohol-free?
It's the gold standard, like if you're gonna do stuff properly, it's the way to do it. You're gonna have no problems with the beer. There's always going to be risks with everything, but you can skip it, and there's other methods and stuff too. But yeah, I'd think, why? If I'm gonna make something as good as I possibly can, let's go for gold standard.
Yeah, it's what I like about your beers as well. It's like, that there's been care and attention put into them. Like you say, it's one guy doing it, right? Like, this is your baby. And I think pasteurization is only something that I've really been looking into in the past year, really, or really paying attention to it. And the more that you kind of notice it, the more you go, oh, okay, that they care about that. Well, maybe not they care about that, but it's just like, okay, that's a process that this has been through. So you can kind of associate it with a beer. Like, yeah. So it's a strange old thing, because aren't there only 2 or 3 places in the country that do it? Or isn't it a really difficult thing to find? Or is it when you get further up north, it's difficult?
No, I don't think there's a lot of places that do it. I think there's different stuff as well. The tunnel pasteurizers, the ones that, so basically they put them on a big conveyor belt and they go through like a tunnel, and they're sprayed with hot water, and they're like perfect temperature, and they come out and they're cooled, and it's just like a long conveyor belt. I don't think there's many of those in the country. They're quite expensive, and I suppose there's been a whole thing over the past 10 years of craft beer. It's like the unfined, unfiltered, unpasteurized. That's been on a lot of cans. Like, a lot of people try to avoid it, to be like, this is a natural product, and we try to keep as much of that flavor in there as possible. And it's going to be hazy, and it's going to be a living product. So I don't think there's been a big call for it over the last 10 years. So there's only a couple of places that do that. There's quite a lot of places that use like old technology. So they have big bath pasteurizers where they basically get big cages and dunk them in water to a certain temperature. But I don't know who does that, but I think there's quite a few of those places. Yeah, the tunnels are like what you want. They're really accurate and expensive to use and expensive to buy. So yeah, I think there's only a few places that do it.
It'd be interesting to see if like more places crop up that offer that, with alcohol-free kind of being on the rise, or if any big companies end up like offering pasteurization exclusive services, or if they set up any like establishments. This is me putting a lot of pressure onto the alcohol-free industry.
You know what? I've heard of a few breweries investing in pasteurizers, because there's been a big rise this year in like the smoothie type beers. Have you seen those in the alcohol world? Like the really thick, basically innocent smoothies,
and
alcohol in them.
I've also seen the milk. Is it milk? I don't know if this is relevant, but milk beer, like the Czech milk beer.
Yeah,
I'm seeing that coming up.
Yeah, so there's lots of those that have like loads of sugar that could potentially ferment later on down the line. So I think with the rise of those, some breweries are investing in pasteurizing. I think that's coming hand in hand with more people wanting to do alcohol-free stuff, because they've got the pasteurizer there and they can run it through really quickly. So it's like, smoothie beers and alcohol-free beers are coming up in the world together. What a time we live in, eh?
Yeah, that is wild. Because as I started saying, I wonder if more places will like release pasteurization thing. Like, as I started saying it, I was like, the fuck are you on about, Ben? Like, this isn't like, yes, we're in an expanding world of alcohol-free beer, but like it's never going to be hand in hand with full alc stuff. As much as I would love to see that, being realistic, there's a ceiling here, and we're definitely not at the ceiling yet. But it's never going to outperform the big alc industry because it just. Nor would I really want it to. I know that sounds backwards, but like I don't want proper beer to go away. Proper beer, listen to me. Fucking hell, I've become everything I hate. I don't want full alc beer to go away because I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I was saying, I was like, no, this isn't going to drive that. But then smoothie beer, who knew?
Yeah. There hasn't been an alcohol-free smoothie beer yet, so I feel like we need to go into that territory a little bit at some point too.
What would be some of the Omnipollo beers might be clove.
True. Yeah. They look incredible. I haven't actually had one of those, but I've seen a few of your videos, and they look pretty wild.
Yeah,
that's one of my favourite breweries, though. They've always been one of my favourite breweries. They're just, like, everything about them is what I aspire to. They're another one. Them guys are mash gang, because Omnipollo started as a contract brewery too. They used to do all of their stuff contracted. It was just one guy. They've only actually got a brewery fairly recently, few years, but yeah, they always did stuff in other people's breweries.
Yeah, the stuff that they do, like it's the Lassie Gozers, the Bianca range are the ones that that's actually done so much for me as well. Those videos, like the amount of people that say, "Oh, I saw that," and that's when I thought, "Oh, okay, I can get on board with this." And it is. I mean, it is.
I think I actually sent you one at one point when they did a teaser for it being released, and I was like, Ben, look at this.
Like, because it's the port, and then the head goes like over the top of the glass. And like, let's be frank, it is just a party trick. Yeah. But fucking hell, it's cool. Like,
these things still get me excited. Like, that's what I like. I love about beer, and there's still room in all of this stuff for things to happen that are really cool. So yeah, I don't know. It's not like it's turned into a real boring place and everyone's just trying to find the next thing to do. I think there's still really exciting things. And the Omnipollo cans, God, do they look good?
Yeah, they're awesome. I can't believe I forgot the name. The chap who does their artwork for them, we follow each other on Instagram, and he's amazing. Can't believe I forgot his name.
Yeah, no, I can't remember. I think I do follow him too.
I want to say Mark. Yeah. But
Mr. Art Director.
They're really cool cans. I mean, just the brewery as a whole is really cool. But talking of like things changing and things growing and people looking for new things, I want to talk a bit about the Vault City collab, because I feel like Vault City, like, their sours are great. I used to love the blueberry sour that they did when I was a drinker of the booze. And then the Mash Gang collabs came along, and it was kind of a continuation of what Vault City were doing already. Like, it was very fruit heavy. Like, it kind of towed the line between, is this a beer? Is this a grown up soft drink with the alcohol free? But then you guys went and did a dry hopped sour, and it felt like drinking that, like the presence of the hops made it more of a sour beer than other alcohol-free sours. Was that your doing? Was it something that they wanted to work on? Because I know they don't use many hops as a brewery, really, Vault City, anymore.
No, they wanted to make a dry hop sour beer, straight up dry hop sour. They don't really use hops very often. And I got excited. I was like, we should put every fruit that you can imagine in it, and we can make it amazing. Until I finally realized that that's not what they really wanted. They really wanted to do the dry hop, something that was really kind of drinkable in January, that would stand apart from everything else, and do something that was like quite brave on their part. And I'd always wanted to do. There's actually a beer by Daya called Break Me Into Bigger Pieces. It's like a dry hopped IPA, but it's got lemon, and I think it's got lime in it too. It's just really good. Like, it's not overly lemon and limey, but where you've got the hops, the lemon flavour kind of sits underneath it and makes the hops taste a lot different. You get like a lot of that citrusy character. So I think that was kind of the idea, to have it more like a dry hop sour with an underlying kind of lemon to bolster it up. And yeah, I think it came out really well.
It was delicious. I've got a crate of it arriving tomorrow, which is a nice little treat from Vault City.
Nice.
Because I spoke with, he was called Ben, a chap called Ben that works there on their like business development team or something. He just emailed me out of the blue. About
they are a lovely bunch of people too. Just so nice. Steve, the owner, he was one of the guys that were on board with what I was doing from early on. He actually gave me a call. I think it was just after I'd released my second beer, and he tried it, and he was like, I really love these beers. They're tasting great. I've never had stuff like them. We should do something at some point, which is like a real. It was a call out of the blue. I don't even know how he got my number, but it was a real call out of the blue, and it was and another one of those amazing kind of marks that you put on the year, and kind of thought no more of it. And then just before, it was about November time, they invited me over to kind of make something. So
amazing.
Yeah,
that is mad.
Really, really lovely bunch.
I
think there's a lot of people that are scared to go on what they like, and they go on what's popular and what they think they should be doing, rather than trying stuff and being like, oh, actually, this is actually really good, forming their own opinions and going with it. So I think I appreciate those things when people, even if they said it was shit and said, I don't like this is shit, at least they've formed their own opinion on it.
I'm yet to have one of yours that I don't like. Like, genuinely, it's been ridiculous. Because, like, even Mash Gang, like 1 in every 10 of their... I mean, I say 1 in every 10, that's not actually that many, because they released, like, 700 beers at one point. It was, like, ridiculous. But even, like, Mash Gang, 1 in every 10 you'd have, and you go, I get it, but it's not for me, this one.
Yeah. Jordan's an absolute beast, though. Like, he'll turn around and make a wheat beer, and then all of a sudden he'll be making an IPA, and then it'll be a cherry stout, and then, like, it still blows my mind how he did that for, like, near on, what was it, like 3-4 years consistently, just bringing out crazy beers. Just to even have that amount of ideas is just insane. He's an absolute animal when it comes to making beer.
Yeah, considering, like, it was his first venture into brewing as well, like being a lockdown company just from him making like Mexican ferments.
Yeah,
it's a ridiculous origin story. But it's an origin story that is so fucking Mash Gang, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
I was making cheese, and then I made like a pineapple pech, I think it's called, and then everyone called it the pineapple beer, and then it turned into a brewery, and then, I mean, look what the rest is history, isn't it, with them?
Yeah, I think that's the thing with contract brewing, though. Like, you're not there all the time. Like, I go for brew days and stuff, and then I effectively have to leave it somewhere until it's finished. And you give like a little bit of a spec, like, I want this amount of carbonation and this, but you never really know until you get the cans back. So I think it's hard to always have really high quality when you're turning over a lot. I think I'm quite lucky at the moment where I get to spend a little bit of time on doing things, and there's always stuff that I don't like. I'm like, this needs a little bit more carbonation. I'll put a little bit more carbonation on the next one, or I'll do a little bit different on the next one. It's like little incremental steps. But yeah, like, you never know if something happens and the beer comes out shit at the end of the day, you can't just tip that beer down the drain. You've got to go with it.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Especially when it's you're still in year 2, year 3, or whatever territory.
Which is a funny story because I did actually do that with with the first beer that we. So we was meant to bring this beer out in January, wasn't we?
Yes,
But
yes. I haven't mentioned it.
But something did happen with the beer, and it actually over fermented, and we ended up with a 1% beer. And I remember the thing that I was worried about the most wasn't the beer; it was calling you to tell you that the beer had over fermented. And I thought, can I get Ben to do a collaboration with me and release an alcoholic beer? And I was like, that is the silliest thing.
It would have been
to
fucking
possibly do.
hilarious, though, wouldn't it? Like,
Yeah, and
it would have
an
been really funny.
ex-alcoholic releasing an alcoholic beer.
Yeah, I don't know how it tastes. You tell me. I can remember that phone call. I can remember it well. And, I mean, it was sound because you were like, "Look, we're going to do it. Don't worry, we're going to do it." Because
Yeah,
when you like, we had the conversation about doing a beer together, like a fair bit of time ago now, and it was one of those things where I was like, I'm going to tell myself that this isn't going to happen, but like, if it does, it's fucking amazing. And then when it was like, you sent me the artwork and all of that, and it was like, right, January, it's go. I was like, fuck, this is real. Like, what? It was such a, like, there's been 3 like pinch me moments, or maybe 4 pinch me moments in the whole like journey of this like profile, I suppose. The first was when Mash Gang followed me back, which was humble beginnings, but it was like shit, because Mash Gang and breweries like that, they changed my life. They made me realise that there was life after sobriety through beer, which sounds really lame, but it was a big deal to me. That was the first one. Then it was the Beer Guild Awards. Then it was the collab beer. And then it was walking through Westminster for Alcohol Change UK and being like, what the fuck? Why am I here?
Yeah. Talking about incredible years, that was a pretty good year for you last year too, wasn't it? There was some like amazing things. I'd turn around every month and you'd be doing something amazing for the scene. And this is not your job, is it? This is something that you do out of pure passion and love.
Yeah,
And
this is the thing that I do of an evening, and like ask the people in my house it's like, can you just give me 2 minutes while I film this video? Like literally here, like where I'm sat now. And I mean, like with the podcast, it's like, right, at 8 o'clock I'm recording, or 7 o'clock I'm recording, or when I get home from work I'm recording. And it's like, it's become an obsession, because at first it was like a necessity. Like I very much set up the page initially for myself to keep myself in track with my sobriety and to give it like a public picture. So it's like, if these people from school see that I've set up a page about being sober and then I start drinking again, they're going to think I'm a real fucking idiot. So you can't drink anymore, can you?
Yeah.
But it has become an obsession. And I do see myself as like one of the people championing these producers and these beers and sobriety, because I feel like I needed someone like that when I was going through it with addiction. I needed something that looked like me and I could relate to, saying like, look, it's cool, it's fine, man. But also not sugarcoating everything and saying like, sobriety's lovely, sobriety's great. Weirdly, since doing this podcast again and since filming these episodes, I've actually had more romantic memories of my times drinking full alcohol beer than I've had in maybe 12 months.
Yeah.
And you do have to
That's when you've got to a good place though, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
When you're quite happy looking back on those moments and being like, oh, it's young. We had some fun.
Yeah, so it was fine. Nobody died. We're fine. At least not that I can remember, but we're fine. They didn't die, in all seriousness. It was fine.
It's a really good community as well. Like all of the people,
it's awesome.
all of the writers, all of the beer drinkers, like it's all part of a big community. And I think that's something that I really want to be part of too, and hence partly a reason for the collaboration. It'd be easy to just team up with a brewery and do a brewery, but have like the actual people who are on the ground promoting this stuff and and are passionate about it, I think that means more. It means more to me than it does anything else, I think.
It was awesome for me. Like, I mean, I've got you. Can you see it? I've got like a shelf. Oh, you can't see it. So there,
Yeah,
that little cork at the top is the first ever Mash Gang bottle that was bottled, and then below it, the vase is in the way, but is the first can that I opened of that beer.
Really?
And like I've swilled it out, and it's like I'm keeping it forever because I just kept one like. I was thinking of like, can I resin seal the top of it so the liquid's still there? Because if I kept it like just out for maybe like 10 years, if I make it that long, I don't want to just one day like the can to go like I don't know if that can happen. I'm not clever enough.
The pasteurized, the only thing that will probably make it do that is if there's the presence of yeast inside, but it all should all be dead. I don't think it will taste great in 10 years' time, but it shouldn't explode though. So yeah, keep on.
Oh, maybe I'll have to keep. I'll have to get another one and keep that as well.
Yeah,
I'm going to be in a lot of trouble at home with all of this like beer memorabilia I keep coming back with. But no, like it was just a really big deal. Like I had it earlier today. I was looking at beers online, which I just do now of an evening to see if there's any I'd missed, and I saw on a website Sunburst, like We Could Be Friends Sober Boozers Club, and I just clicked on it just to read the description. Be like, fuck. When I was drinking full fat stuff and like really into craft beer and stuff, if you'd have told me that I'd be on a beer can, I'd been like, oh, that's really cool. So to have done it sober, that's just mad. And it's funny that like sometimes it feels like things are a bit stagnant. Like I could easily have a much bigger social presence by being that guy that's like 5 myths about sobriety, or like things that will happen to your skin when you get sober, or like, oh, today I was really struggling and I didn't want to get out of the house, and then I did some meditation and thought about how happy I am to be sober. I could easily have a bigger following through that, but it's just not authentic. Like I will advocate sobriety forever, but in my own kind of like, not every day is good. And really what I'm interested in is beer. And my thing is like, that hasn't changed since I got sober. That's my advocacy for sobriety, is that you don't have to live a life without.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people can tell authenticity straight away. And
Yeah,
I think
hope
when
so.
things are not, I've seen quite a lot of stuff that I think is not. And I generally think people can tell. They probably get a few clicks and a few likes and stuff, but it never lasts long, does it? It's not real deal unless it is the real deal. And people do that and they genuinely, I mean, some people are really good at it and they're really into it. And I think if
like
they're into
people
it
like,
and they're passionate about it and they do it, it comes across as authentic. But if you're just trying to do it because you want those clicks and those likes, it doesn't come across well.
Yeah, like the people at like Alcohol Change UK, like you Millie Gooches of the world and Carl, and they think it's all sober podcast, and people like that, I think they're doing amazing things, and like they are the bedrock of sober Instagram, which is, it's weird. I live like a 50-50 life of like sober Instagram and beer Instagram, and it's really weird how those two worlds have kind of mashed together, which is actually something that I think you've done really well, is you really got proper beer people on board. I'm saying proper beer again, but you got the full fat beer people on board when you started releasing beer, like these craft beer people that you wouldn't necessarily think would be drinking like non-alc stuff were really on board with your stuff, which I think speaks volumes, probably more than me enjoying it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a cultural shift too, isn't it? Like, I feel like even as far back as 5 years ago, if you told anyone that you was living a sober life or you spent part of your time drinking alcohol-free drinks, it would often be met with like, they think you're a bit strange or they think you're a bit weird. But that cultural shift has changed now. So I think those beer drinkers who probably drink a lot and they probably need a night off or two during the week, it's like a good thing to go to. So I think just culturally there's probably people looking for it too.
Yeah, I think so as well. But I think it's like, I think it's people were looking for it, but actually the liquid just wasn't up to scratch yet. And if you don't do a load of research into it initially, like you had to, like when I stopped drinking, it was 3 years ago, and I had to really look for these beers. They weren't just openly available. And I think now people are more on board with it, and it's actually like you're more likely to see certain beers. Like in January has proved that. So I think it's these beers being in like public perception and people seeing more, it becomes more acceptable to try it. And then when you try it and it's good, because everyone's first experience of alcohol-free beer has probably been bad, right? I know mine was.
Yeah.
I can't think of many people that have really enjoyed their first alcohol-free beer. Like, I think my first ever one, it was a Beck's Blue. But like, this would be, God, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Shit, that's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at a family party and I was driving, and I've got an uncle who's a bit like straight laced, and he was like, I've got some alcohol free beer. I think it's really quite nice. Try this. I was like, hey, that's awful.
Yeah.
It was worse than Beck's Blue is now, because I think Beck's Blue has actually improved quite a lot. But then
I think a lot of those lagers, the 0% lagers are pretty decent, to be honest. Like, there's not really ones that I think are terrible. There's been a few beers that I've had this year that have been awful, but there's not a lot of those big macro ones that are that bad. But to be honest, all of the old lager drinkers, if you're a Stella person and you drink Stella all the time, you're very staunch in being on board with that brand, and you don't try anything else. You can't have a Madry because you don't like the taste of it. Or you can't have a Holsten Pils because it's like, it doesn't taste like your
Holsten Pils got me through lockdown.
But you know what? Holsten Pils used to be my favourite when I was younger.
I used to go to...
I don't know why. I just chose it. And
neither do I.
Holsten Pils is my beer.
I used to go to Booze Village, and they opened at 8 in the morning. So, this is a sign. And this was before I realised I was an alcoholic. Fucking make sense of this. During lockdown, I'd stay up until 4 in the morning, getting real pissed and being on like Zoom calls with people. It's my housemate who I was living with, like, he's my best mate for like 10 years. He still lives with me part-time now. He rents the garage because he's got a music studio out there. It's a weird modern setup that we've got going. But I'd drink all of the beers in my house, and then I'd be like, shit, I've drank some of his beer. Booze Village opened at 8 in the morning. I'd go down, I'd buy a big pack of like 36 of them, carry it back home at 8 in the morning, go to bed, wake up at 12, repeat. Holsten Pils. Oh,
it's an easy drinker, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
Imagine if they did an alcohol-free.
Yeah.
It would be awful, but brilliant.
There's a lot of those. I saw a Madry one today.
I was about to say, I've got a can of that. No, a bottle, not a can.
You know what I've kind of got excited about recently, and it's down to Martin from Alcohol Free World. Like, he's always like, this beer is really good, and it's a bottled beer from Germany that I've never heard of. I've always been up to date.
Like this stuff.
Yeah, like these ones. I'm up to date on all the trendy beers, the ones that are made the mash gangs and the tracks of the world. I don't really know any of the classics. I haven't really tried any of the ones that have been knocking about for 5-10 years and are a classic on the alcohol free scene. I don't know those ones, so I need to go deep dive on those and see what they're saying.
So for me, it's like I love like hazy craft beer, and like throwing myself into that with your beers or Daya or Track or Cloudwater, and like that's my jam. But then something about like having a big bottle of like German Hells, you drink it and you go, I feel like I'm on holiday. Yeah, like that is a side of beer, because the Germans have been drinking alcohol-free beer for decades. Like, it's just completely normal over there to go to beer halls, and you have alcohol-free or full alc version, and they just go hand in hand. So I started drinking this stuff because Christian at Sturchley Wines and Spirits, like, they started by importing beers from like Germany or from Czech beers and Belgian beers and things like that. So when he first got a contact that could get him German stuff, he was really excited by it.
Yeah.
And when I went in, he was, oh, look what I've got. And it was Augustina. And apparently that was a real big deal that Augustina made an alcohol-free beer. Yeah. And then by doing some research into it, I was like, shit, man, like, this is ridiculous. And when I do buy these like European beers and I have to do a bit of researching before, it's like, the breweries are like 300, 400 years old.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Like, I had like a Bavarian royal beer the other day. I've got a couple of them in the fridge at the moment, actually. But it's like brewed by the Prince of Bavaria. And it's like, it's like the history of it.
Yeah, like old established brands. Yeah, like I'm excited to go into those because I've heard that some of them are pretty incredible and they've been brewing some great stuff.
You wouldn't know the difference, and I know that sounds so like.
Before recently, they've been so far ahead of the UK in alcohol-free beers. Yeah, I think it's probably the attitude changing, but yeah, you're right. The Germans are a lot more willing to have an alcohol-free beer.
I think it is improving over here, like in tap rooms. I'm seeing a lot more, like in tap rooms in particular. Like, I think people that run establishments because they love beer are more often likely to offer an alcohol-free beer because it's like respect for the liquid, isn't it, and for the art. And I think with alcohol-free, it's a continuation of that art form. It's like, we can do this now. Shit, well, let's do that and let's get creative with it. And like, that's the fun of it all, isn't it? Like, when you make a beer, you are creating, you're designing something.
Yeah. Well, it brings it back to that inclusivity thing again, doesn't it? Like, tap rooms are for people who drink beers and want to get drunk and have a few 6% IPAs, but it's not anymore, is it? It's a place where you can go and have a drink and you can go and have an alcohol-free beer and chill out and take in the industrial estate.
Yeah. Always an industrial estate. I suppose it makes sense because it is an industry.
Yeah.
You see people and it's like, oh, look, it's another industrial estate. And it's like...
Yeah, you get the most land for the cheapest, I think. It's either there or on a farm, isn't it?
Yeah, farm tap houses are nice.
Farm breweries, though. I've just started brewing beers at Farmyard up in Lancashire, and being a central London kid, going up there on an actual farm where...
Smoking just to get used to just to make your lungs feel like they're at home.
Yeah, and they once they finish with the malt, they put it on a forklift, take it round the corner, and then feed it to some cows. And you're like, this is cool. It's all going round. It's all like environmentally friendly and nice. And
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, everything is getting used.
I think that is like, I'm not saying that farmyards and farmers only drink this type of beer, but I think that is something that I'd like to see in this country is like your English ales really starting to get good. That will be interesting.
I did see something the other day that they were trying to look for styles. What's going to be big this year? What's going to break through a bit more? And it's always a resounding the IPAs are not going anywhere. People just love them. But there's going to be a little peak in good lagers too. People want those lagers, and traditional British styles too. Some of those being brewed more of like your milds and your bitters and stuff.
Love a mild.
And me too. I love a bitter too.
Yeah. I was a big because where I'm from, it was old farmer kind of area. Yeah. It's like it's now a suburb of Birmingham, but my drinking days in my local area, they're all proper old-time local pubs where my dad used to drink, and it was all bitters and ales and things like that.
Yeah, they're all little gateways into the craft beer world too. If you've been brought up in your teens drinking and your early 20s drinking lager, and then all of a sudden you have, I don't know, a wheat beer, it's kind of like that's the first time where you're like, oh, this can be different, and I'll try some other stuff. And all of those things are gateways, aren't they?
Yeah. So it would be interesting, like some proper milds and things like that. And
Yeah.
I've promised that I won't talk about Guinness. I've promised myself I won't talk about Guinness because I was listening back to every episode and I've mentioned fucking Guinness in all of them. But
I love it though; it's so good.
what they've done, I think, is so important. And I
Yeah.
think like Old Peculiar and Proper Job, like
Yeah,
those
I haven't
three,
had those
I think,
two
are
yet.
quite important. Proper Job, really, really good.
Yeah.
Old Peculiar, it was really good when it was cold. When it warms up a little bit, it's like, okay, I can tell that you're alcohol free now. But the fact that they exist, it's like, okay, we're making tracks here. I tell you what was really good. Nirvana's Best Bitter.
Yes, I saw.
That impressed me a lot.
Yeah, I like Nirvana. They've been making a few strides recently. I've seen everyone raving about one of the stouts that they made too. Did they make a milk stout?
They made a milk stout and then they made a nitro stout. The nitro stout was the first beer of theirs in about a year that I thought, no, it's not for me. The milk stout was fantastic.
Yeah, maybe it's the milk stout. Someone was raving about that and saying it was really
very,
good.
very good. Like, delicious. But Nirvana,
I'm on a bit of a stout journey.
Amazing.
So hopefully, I don't think it'll be anytime soon.
Okay.
I feel like it'll probably have to be towards the end of the year. But doing a few trials of stouts too, and I've got to a really good place with them. So I think, I'm excited to do a stout. And
if you could bash a mild out while you're doing it, that'd be lovely.
Yeah. They're quite similar. They're quite similar in recipe. So
yeah, I was at a brewery not too long ago. I won't say the name because I don't know if I'm allowed to. I mean, I am allowed to. It was me that said it, but I'm not going to. But I was at a brewery a few months ago, somewhere in the south of England, and they let me try their first trial stout before it had any, like, they were doing more to it. It was very early doors.
Yeah.
And it was like, if you just canned this up and sold it as a mild, I'd drink that as a mild.
Yeah.
It was spot on.
Yeah.
And I think they did a little tester of it, or they did it for some event, like a limited run of it, but I never got to try it in final form. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn. I really want to do a straight up, nice, basic stout. And then I'm like, add some chocolate to it. Oh, should I add some coffee to it? And I'm like, no. The idea was to make a nice, basic stout. And I'm like, but I could add some, or Mash Gang have just added some cherry to it. That sounds really good. And then, yeah.
Tell you what would be good. It was a Mash Gang Australia and Big Drop collab.
Yeah.
So it never saw the light of day in the UK unless he badgered Trent into sending you a can like I did. I think that must have cost him a fortune, but I'm not going to think about that. It was a biscotti stout.
Yeah.
And my God, that was that's probably the best stout I've had. And there was nothing traditional about it. Like it was as far removed from a classic dry stout as you're ever going to get, but it was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And it was the first one that I drank that, with a lot of these, I was about to say fruited stouts, but I suppose in Mash Gang's case, but with a lot of these, fancy stouts, like donut stouts, cinnamon stouts, or pastry stouts, etc., the nose is but then when you drink it, it doesn't quite live up to it for me, ever.
They always tend to be the ones that stay in the fridge the longest. I'm like, I really love the sound of this stout. I'll have that tomorrow. And then I get around to it and I'm like, I could just put this one in the back of the fridge for later. Yeah, so I feel like I never get around to drinking those. And I've always been about making beers that I want to drink the most. if I had Guinness in the fridge, I know that it'll be gone tomorrow. If I had a 0 Guinness, I would crack that open while cooking dinner and I'll be quite happy.
Mm-hmm. Man, yeah, I think there are particular beers, aren't there, that they're not going to last very long. Like, weirdly, I've still got an Omnipollo can in my fridge, but it's not one of the, like, fancy bubbly ones. It's one of their Christmas beers that was amazing, but it's that beer where it's like, when I feel like it, when I really feel like it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
When everything else runs out, and it's the only one
I'm getting there. I'm really getting there. I mean, I say I'm getting there. I've got 30 beers in my beers I need to film fridge, but it's like every time I want to drink one of those, I have to, like,
have you still got the little fridge?
Yeah, that's my 2 film fridge.
You're going to need a bigger fridge, Ben.
Yeah, well, I think it's, so in the little fridge, I've got all of the beers that I need to film, and that's, like, pretty much full. And then the beers that are, like, for me, like, beers like this one, and like when I got our beer through, and all these Vault City beers that are going to land tomorrow, like, because I've already filmed those, they go in, like, the food fridge.
Yeah.
And 2 shelves of the food fridge, now bearing in mind it's like a 5-shelf fridge, 2 of them are beer. It's like, oh shit, I didn't have this much beer when I drank.
Yeah.
Like, it's mad. I can't complain though. I can't complain.
Mad.
It's a good time to be a non-drinker who drinks
I'm
beer.
excited about this year. I'm excited to see where this whole thing goes, because we've had a really good year last year.
I'm excited to see what you do next year, or this year.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I struggled a bit with getting stuff in tank last year, so I think I'm starting to get going this year. So hopefully there'll be a few more beers on the horizon.
Is there anything that you think that you've definitely got lined up, or anything? Any?
Not really. I just want to get stuff released. I do want to do a few more collaborations with people, with the actual people of the world. I don't know who it's going to be yet, or what company it's going to be, or what band. I think some music ones would be really good. Some people have had their own journeys who have got their message to tell. Hopefully we can do something, putting a message across on a beer can. I've always liked the idea of that, especially if someone's had a journey doing something, and or if people are drinking a beer and they can read it and they can relate to it a little bit. I quite like the idea of that. So hopefully a few more collaborations with some interesting parties would be good.
Yeah, I love that. I love that concept. I think that's really cool. And I know it meant a lot to me when we got to do it as well, especially when the beer's really good. Like, it'd be one thing just having your name on, like, a can of a half-ass liquid, but when it's like, it might be my favourite We Can Be Friends beer, like, in general. Like, it's fucking tasty.
Yeah, it's my favourite too. I think we've finally got to little incremental steps in getting it tasting where I want it to be.
It feels like every one that you've done, though, has got a little bit more like that. Like, every beer that you've released, I've preferred a little bit to the last one. Although no, was you did the blue one, and then was it the orange and then ultraviolet, or was it ultraviolet then the orange?
It was the orange then the ultraviolet.
Okay, the orange one I preferred to ultraviolet a little bit.
Yep.
Ultraviolet was a bit too creamy for me.
Yeah.
Like, it was still fucking banging, but from that, every single beer is like, oh, he's not going to top this. Oh yeah, he has. Oh, he's not going to top this. Oh shit, he has. So I'm dreading the next one because it will put ours out of business.
Yeah, we'll see.
Last question. Last time you were on with me, 12 months ago, you said that you wanted to compete with table beers, or to offer something that could be served or could hold up against a brewery's table beer. In 2025, what do you think the purpose of a table beer is now? Now that alcohol-free beer is where it's at? Because for me, I struggle with placing table beers, because I feel like people that drink table beer are doing it knowingly, and it's okay. I'm aware of the ABV of this beer, and I'm choosing something for that reason. Yeah. Whereas when the alcohol-free is as good as it can be in 2025, do you think that there's a place for it, or do you think that table beers will start to be eradicated?
They had a real surge a few years ago. People were trying to go lower and lower on ABV, and it kind of ended up at 3.4, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That was like the bottom. That was like the floor of where everyone ended up. I do see a place. Again, it's that inclusivity of, if all your friends are drinking 6% beers and you had one of those and you'd be on your arse making that absolute fool of yourself, then go for the 3.4% beer. You can hang with your pals. If you're into that whole drinking thing, then you can still do that. So I do think there's a place, maybe not as much as there used to be. In terms of like making beer, I do feel like there's a place for the 1% beers too. After accidentally making one,
Yeah,
which is coming out next week.
I can remember that conversation when you were like, the thing is, I've got no problem with putting it out under just We Can Be Friends, because you're not, an exclusive sober brand. It's low and no, whatever.
Yeah.
But then you said, like, I'd put it out, but it's made it taste weird as well, whatever's happened. And it was like, fuck.
Yeah, it just kind of stripped everything out of it. But I do feel like there's a place for the 1% and 2% beers too, because I don't feel like they can really get you drunk. But in terms of like what you can do with beer, maybe there's a little bit of exploration that actual breweries, not me necessarily, but actual breweries can do in there. Because no one's managed to make good ones of those. So if the challenge is there and people are going to drink them, I think it's always been a bit of that weird thing of that, like 1% beer, you might as well go alcohol free, or if you want to drink, go table beer. So no one's really explored that territory yet. But I do feel like there could be a market for it.
Sam, thank you very much for coming on again.
No worries.
As I say, you would have been invited had you not have asked. But that's just the kind of relationship we have now, where occasionally I'll just be like, "Oi, you're free to do this." So thank you very much. And yes, season 3 is already booked in, right?
Yeah, we're doing 10 episodes, right? Me and you.
Yeah, sound.
All right.
That's the whole season.
Let's do it.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Sober Boozers Club podcast. My name is Ben Gibbs. You can find me on all the socials at Sober Boozers Club to go and see what Sam is doing for yourself, which I really think you should do. Check out We Can Be Friends beer, please. If you do nothing else because I told you to, do that. You will thank me, I promise you. For now, you guys, take care.